welcome to Brand Your Passion, the show that helps you turn the thing you love the most into something that people know and love you for. I'm your host, Holly Arnett, the brand coach for creatives, and I'm on a mission to make the world a more creative place, one brand at a time. If you're ready to get more eyes on your work, more dollars in your pocket, and more creativity in your life, you're in the right place. Welcome. Let's brand your passion. Hey everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of Brand Your Passion. I am so excited today to be joined by the incredibly talented, wonderful Ashlyn Greer. Welcome to the show, Ashlyn.
Thanks so much for having me. Super excited.
Yay. I'm so pumped to hear your story and dive in and learn so much about you and your brand. So to kick things off, do you want to tell the people, if you can, give them like a quick intro to who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, my name's Ashlyn. I am a personal stylist, formerly brand stylist, commercial stylist, and a founder of Fashivly. So what we do is basically online personal styling. We kind of fill in the space between working with an image consultant that typically costs hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And we're definitely more personalized than maybe some of like the box subscriptions that people are familiar with. So yeah, we're all about confidence and building confidence and helping people find their style and really just look their best every day.
I love that. And I'm so excited to like hear later on about how you sort of nailed that gap in that market and you were like, this is what I need to do. I love it so much. But I'm curious about you specifically and whether you have sort of like, have you always identified as a creative? Were you creative as a kid? Like, yeah, how has your creative journey sort of happened?
Yeah, I mean, as long as I can remember, I've always loved fashion, even kind of before I knew what fashion was, I guess. I would just always loved looking at what people were wearing and how it fit on them. And I mean, even in middle school, like 6th or 7th grade, I remember looking at my teachers and thinking, oh, like their outfit would be so much better if they, did just this little thing. But yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't until college that I realized that fashion was actually a career or something that you could do for a job. I grew up in a really, really small town in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains of the United States, so very rural area. That just besides TV and magazines, that wasn't really like a career path that people talked about, but had a great, college counselor that was like, if that's what you're interested in, you should go after it. And as soon as we talked about that, everything kind of clicked for me. And it was just like off to the races. I was finally able to figure out, oh, these things that I'm always thinking about and always analyzing and reading about is actually something that I can kind of do with my life. So yeah.
Amazing. What a great guidance counselor to like help you
I know
figure that out.
It's one of those things that it's like, yeah, that's actually a real life thing that people help you, connect the dots for. So yeah, that was a great person for me.
Yeah. I mean, I had a similar experience in high school. I didn't really know that design was a thing. Yeah. And then, my teacher was like, this is what you can do. And like, you can have a career, like you said, doing this thing. So thank you to all the teachers out there doing the great work. Okay. And so once you like figured out, okay, fashion is a thing, it's what I want to do, it's like the career path that I want to follow. What is your journey since then look like to where you are now? Obviously, possibly quite a journey, but yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah. So I started applying to any and every internship that I could find on the internet. And strangely, my first kind of break, I guess you would say, was New York Fashion Week, which is obviously like a big one.
Yeah.
But I interned there and then started applying for grad school. So I was in a undergrad program that was just business based, kind of basic, and started taking some visual communications design classes there just because I was interested in that. And that's really what kind of helped me build a portfolio to be able to apply to grad school. So I went to Savannah College of Art and Design and studied luxury fashion management and marketing for my master's degree. And yeah, amazing program, amazing professors, had several internships there that, again, it's just all about connections, and people that you can meet. and actually was recruited out of there to work for a large department store, and started my, professional non-internship career there, and did a lot of different things there. I mean, everything from project management for creative production. So that was really helpful, getting to know how photo shoots happen and, how all of that works. I mean, just so many different avenues that I did there, and ended up doing styling eventually, which is, what my real passion is, kind of working my way up to that.
Amazing. And I did some like mild stalking of your social media platforms and all of this stuff before. And I found an article that you wrote in like late 2020 where you were talking about like quitting that job and realizing that, like myself, I very much identified with the article that you wrote. Like you were feeling a bit like workaholic, a little bit stuck in that sort of like hustle culture and not really doing what was making you happy. So do you want to tell me about that, and then how Fashivly came from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually had a couple of those kind of crossroads in my life, I guess you could say. I actually left the fashion industry in about 2018, 2019, because I was feeling just extremely burnt out. And that was more so had to do with just the corporate culture that kind of surrounds a lot of that, the politics, the just insane hours, all of those things. And really was feeling like I was missing just a connection to making things that mattered. At that point in my career, I'm like, I'm doing the thing that I love, but it's just to sell people things that they don't necessarily need, and was really feeling that missing kind of connection point. And so, I left that and started working with a nonprofit doing some similar type of work, still getting to kind of put together looks, but really more on the creative production side for that. And was so fulfilled in the kind of making things that matter piece. I mean, every single thing that we did was directly tied to something that, was just incredible. I mean, changing people's lives. And, I still kind of felt this thing of like, fashion has always been what I've done. It's what I love, and really feeling like I wanted to start something myself. And then the pandemic hit. And so all those plans were kind of like, what is happening in the world? This also felt very selfish for me to say, I'm going to quit my job when obviously so many people are, not able to work. But I did. I kind of just felt like I don't know what's next in my career, in my life, but I feel like, this is something I'm supposed to do to kind of figure that out. And I took about 6 months and was really just researching and trying to figure out, what's my next step? What is this business going to look like where I can marry what I love to do with, things that help people, and really feeling like I'm making a difference. And Fashively actually was not my kind of brainchild idea, which I think is really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing that I came up with on my own, but a friend reached out to me and said, hey, I would love for you to style me. And I've had people reach out and say that in the past, and I've always been too busy or whatever. And long story short, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm like, I can't do this in person. So how do I style her, remotely? And that's, it kind of just went from there. I mean, she shared kind of what is now known as kind of a style guide. And she shared that on her social media, and I have not stopped since then. People reached out, seeing hers, and it's really been cool just to see how that kind of like naturally birthed itself. So
that's amazing. And I love that that's such a cool lesson. And like, sometimes we try so hard to like figure out something that's going to work or design the best idea ever, but really it just comes from like listening and paying attention to like what the people around you need and want.
Yes. And thinking back too, I mean, I have pages and pages in notebooks of different ideas. And at the end of the day, it's like, no, like, what am I good at? What do people think of me for, or, know me as? And what's your area of expertise and your passion? And that's probably exactly where you're going to be pulled back into. So,
yeah, exactly. That's like everything that I teach, like when I'm doing brand strategy, that's like it. I'm like, okay, well, what do you love to do? Like, what makes you super happy? What is your favorite thing? What is the thing that, like, if you could do it every day, that's what you'd want to do? And let's figure out how we can make that a business. Yeah, so incredible. And so if we talk about Fashivly and the brand, which is amazing, by the way, like I was just talking to Ashlyn before the show, but I found Ashlyn via TikTok and then started like checking out your website and all of the goods. And I was amazed at how cool the Fashivly website is and the brand and like the imagery and everything. So can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, did you do that yourself or did you have help with that? Tell me all about that process.
Yeah. So, I mean, working in different areas of creative production for the last 10 years, I have so many amazingly talented friends. I mean, from everything from copywriting and motion graphics and photography and just all the things. And so it really is kind of a collective effort between a lot of people. I mean, I had a couple friends, one that's a creative director, one that is a script writer, that kind of helped me start brainstorming names. And, those kind of couple sessions is what ended up with the name Fashivly. Graphic designers that helped with websites. One of my really good friends is just an absolutely incredible photographer. He shoots all the imagery. And yeah, I mean, I could go on and on just listing off people. But it really is. It's so cool to just look at things and like, this is just a beautiful, marriage of all of the people that I love and the things that they're amazing at doing too. So
yeah, it's one of the coolest things I think about like running your own business and being a creator is that you can like rope in all these different talented, amazing people to like make things happen. It's so fun.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, amazing. And I was going to ask you, you just mentioned like the photography and the imagery. Obviously, like with fashion, it's so important, like the visual side of things and photographing them and making them look really cool. So did you have sort of a thought process behind the imagery and what you wanted it to look like and all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the main things just from the get-go is I really wanted to show real people, not necessarily models, which is typically what I've, always worked with. And most imagery that you see is that, but wanted to show real people in their real lives, wearing their real clothes. I mean, almost every single person that you see in any of the images or video that we have are clients or friends. And we do the same type process that we do for a regular client. It's a style guide. Maybe it might be their second one because I've met them, through doing the first one. And, we kind of pick clothes together. And yeah, I mean, just a couple other things from the get-go. I wanted everything to feel really happy and bright. Confidence is obviously a huge thing. I think that's like, if I had to say what the brand was or what I want the brand to be in one word, it's kind of that. And, what I want people to get from this service. So yeah, I mean, occasionally we use, models, but again, they're usually just real people that, are friends, and just trying to showcase them as a person, I think, is the most important thing.
Yeah, well, you've definitely nailed all those things you just said. Like when I was checking out the website, and if you're listening, go and look at it and you'll see what we're talking about. But yeah, it definitely feels that like bright, happy, confident. It definitely made me be like, I want to do this. I want to feel like that. So it's winning. It's doing a great job. And I'm curious about the like packages that you have, because that's like, obviously part of your business and your brand as well. And I think they're so smart. Like Fashivly has like 3 different options, right? You can do like a full 10 outfits, and then there's one that's slightly smaller, and then I think there's another one, right?
Yes.
Did you have these packages sort of like from the beginning, or how has that sort of grown or changed over time, if it has?
Yeah, I mean, I started out again just doing this for friends and friends of friends, and it just kind of evolved again. I saw there were a lot of people that were looking for kind of more of a full wardrobe makeover, which is, pretty much what the 10 package is. It's 10 looks, it's kind of a total wardrobe revamp. And then there were a lot of people that were wanting things like vacation packages, things for weddings, like, oh, I've got a bachelorette party and a rehearsal dinner, or things like that. Or maybe they have a new job that they're starting and they just need to kickstart, a couple of great looks that they feel confident in for that. So yeah, it was kind of just a little bit of an evolution of things that I kept seeing people want. And I was like, okay, whenever it was finally time to launch officially, those just kind of made sense to me. So, and the yearly, I thought about that one, subscription. That's another thing, is I was having a lot of, repeat clients, and I'm like, okay, what can I do for people that are going to use this, a couple seasons a year, give them a little bit of a discount on that.
Yeah. That's so smart. We love that, like brand loyalty, getting people coming back, all about it. I love it. And I want to talk a little bit about your social media as well, because you do that so well, especially on TikTok. So like I said, I found you on TikTok via, I think, like a viral series that you did about what shoes to pair with what pants. And I was like, oh my God, finally, these wide-legged pants that everybody is wearing that I'm now wearing. Hard. I was like, what shoes do I wear with these flippin' pants? And so I'm curious about your thoughts on like TikTok in general and how you started with TikTok and then kind of what it's been like since getting some of those like viral videos and just that process.
Yeah, I mean, I got on TikTok again, just really got on every social media platform just about like, okay, I'm starting this business. I need to just throw a bunch of things at the wall and kind of see what sticks.
Yeah.
And I'm previously, before TikTok, was never someone that like talked to the camera. I was kind of very uncomfortable with that and still am, if I'm being honest. I've spent most of my, career being behind the camera. So talking was just not something I was comfortable with, and still getting over that. But I just found really quickly that those type of videos were the ones that seemed to resonate with people. It wasn't the following trends or, making type of content like that, but it really was just me talking about what I know about and sharing things that might help other people. And yeah, it's been so huge for the business. I mean, we've hired, I would say, 2 people. I have 3 other people on the team with me right now in like a regular weekly part-time capacity. And 2 of those people are directly from the growth that we've had from TikTok. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. So would you say that like a large percentage of your clients come from TikTok or some percentage of them?
Yeah, I would say the last probably 3 months, it's been a large percentage. So what typically happens is people will find us either one of 2 ways. It's either just from discovery on TikTok or it's from a friend sharing about us. So previously, before TikTok, it was mostly people that were like 3, stations removed from someone that we had styled before or someone that we knew. And so TikTok really kind of just like blew all of that up and created all these other little touch points. And now those people are telling their friends or sharing. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And getting in front of those people who might never have heard of you before. Like I'd never heard of you. I have no, physical connection to you by anybody else, but you just popped up on my For You page and now here we are. So that's amazing. Yeah. And is that series about the pants and the shoes, is that like your best performing, most viral TikTok, or have you had some other pretty good ones?
So the first one that happened was actually me talking about a pair of Abercrombie and Fitch jeans.
Nice.
So that was the first kind of viral TikTok that I had. And it was literally just kind of satire a little bit and saying like we should all have a class action lawsuit, which I think a lot of people thought was maybe real. It was totally just a joke. I love Abercrombie, by the way. They're super size inclusive. Their clothes are amazing. But, 15, 20 years ago, it was not the case. Yeah. And I think a lot of people just really resonated with that. And then after that video, I just talked a lot about sizing and just the industry overall, which I think is, for me, I'm like, oh, I know this is what I know, but it's just so interesting. You realize, oh yeah, not everyone knows that the reason why clothes don't fit you between different seasons is because they use a fit model. And if they don't use the same fit model, that's not your body, it's going to be different. And yeah, it was so interesting. So I think, again, it's just those pieces that are a little more educational, that it's like, hey, like I can learn something from this. And I think that just really hits home. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And very cool that you've kind of figured that out, and now you can combine like things you love to talk about and then things that are obviously working on TikTok to kind of accelerate that growth. That's awesome. So as well as TikToks, you also have like Instagram, obviously, you have blogs, you have a newsletter. How do you sort of balance all of that, if you do, as a creative, like how do you balance all of that marketing stuff as well as actually running your business and just being a human? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's so tough. I feel like anyone that's ever worked in any creative role knows that it's all consuming. And whether you're working for yourself or you're working for a company, if you are in creative, you are used to being a workaholic. And I don't think that's a good thing necessarily. I think, unfortunately, it's just a little bit how it's been. So I am a self-proclaimed workaholic. I'm trying to get better about that. But yeah, I mean, I think just past experiences allowed me to be able to have a high capacity to do a lot of type of things. And I think the thing I'm trying to focus on now, because it is like, it's such a small team and small group of people, and there's only so much energy that I have, that we all have. My word for this year is focus. So really trying to narrow in on, okay, what are the things that are the most important things? And, I've got to kind of let some things go, even though I don't want to. I want to be posting on the blog 3 or 4 times a week. I love writing personally too, but that's one of those things where it's like, man, okay, there's a couple other things that are higher priority than that. So we're going to do that when we can, because it's still important, but it's really just about choosing priorities, I think.
Yeah, definitely picking those battles and figuring out which ones are the, going to get potentially the most return on your investment of time and energy and money and all of that stuff. And yeah, I can definitely relate. Like, I'm just myself, and I have a couple of people who help me as contractors here and there. But as sort of a one person band or a small team, it can get a lot. And I always think about the fact that, like, it's some people's full-time job to manage an Instagram page.
100%.
And for us, it's like one of many jobs that we have. So it's like, give yourself some grace if, like, you don't post the blog post, or you're not able to, like, post 4 TikToks a day, or however many you're supposed to post these days. It's trying to kind of get perspective on those, the energy that we all have to do all these many different things. And you mentioned, which I really want to talk to you about, that you are a writer as well as, like, all the stuff that you do with Fashivly, right? You've written articles, you have a poetry book, which is incredible. Tell me a little bit about, like, your writing and your other sort of passions. And again, like, how do you balance those passions as well as running a business?
Yeah, I mean, writing was something that I kind of found in that in between period that I talked about, that 6 months where I was really just trying to figure out, what is my next step? What am I going to do? I've got to figure this out type thing. And it really kind of became just, I don't know, just something for me that I was never intending on anyone ever seeing or ever being put out into the world. But yeah, I mean, I don't do it as much as I was, which is unfortunate, because like I said, it is such kind of like a therapeutic thing. But I think even just putting that little book of poetry out into the world was such a great step for me personally, and just releasing something that I wasn't necessarily trained in doing, or, I had no prior experience writing anything. So it was kind of one of those things where I'm going to put this out and not be afraid to look stupid kind of thing. And I think I needed that before I kind of full-fledged launched this company, because it was just a lot of in my head, and, what if this fails and I'm going to look stupid, and what are people going to think? So that was really a great, just therapeutic, release for me.
Yeah, beautiful. And you're so good at, like, segueing into other questions that I have, because you just mentioned talking about, like, kind of being afraid or, like, worried that it wouldn't work or whatever. And in the article that I read, you said a really brilliant quote, which was that whenever I start to feel afraid, I remind myself that the only thing there is to lose is the chance for something incredible. Is that kind of like something that you, like, live by, that helped you to release those things, helped you with Fashivly? Like, I think a lot of creatives have that kind of fear, and it's taking a risk being a creative and releasing things into the world. I'm just curious about your thoughts on that kind of philosophy.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that's something that I have to remind myself of daily, weekly. I think I almost had a little bit of a false sense of confidence before this kind of period in my life of jumping out on my own, where, if you have, like, the name of a big brand or something, you kind of hide behind that a little bit, and a job title and all those things. And that kind of serves as your confidence and your identity and all of that. And when all of that's stripped away, at least in my case, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, am I good enough? Is this going to be good enough? But yeah, I think every time I've come to one of those crossroads, even in the business, I mean, a year ago, I think I posted something about this on Instagram before I formally launched, under like a name and not just, myself promoting this. It was the worst couple months that I'd had as far as revenue. And I was like, okay, like, is this the end? Do I need to pack it up and figure something else out? And it's just one of those things where it's like, you know what? Like, I might as well just put everything I have into this and at least say I've given it everything and I've tried, versus almost kind of playing scared a little bit and retreating just based on fear of, the unknown and what's going to happen. So yeah, it's something that I definitely have to remind myself of a lot.
Yeah, totally. I think it's something that people listening will definitely relate to and find really helpful. And when I read it, I was like, damn, that's good. Like, yeah, I can relate to that totally. Yeah. And it's obviously true, right? Like, yeah, like you said, those couple of months you could have given up and forgotten about it, but now you keep going and the incredible has happened. Like by keeping going, it gave you that chance to make something incredible. So good on you for committing and going hard and keeping going. And you also just mentioned that, you changed from doing things under your name to doing things under the Fashivly brand. And I'm curious, like, with the Fashivly brand and your own personal things that you're writing and everything, how do you sort of divide or balance, like, having sort of a quote unquote personal brand and a business brand? And how did you decide that that's what you wanted to do rather than kind of having it all under one?
Yeah, I feel like I had reached a point where, at least long-term plan for the business, I needed it to be a brand in and of itself, and really wanted to kind of step out of being, I guess, like a face of it. So when I originally launched and, started with the Instagram page, I very purposely split my content up, and anything that was on the brand's page did not have me in it. And then anything on my personal page, I was still kind of promoting that, with my face myself. So it was really interesting and tough for me with TikTok, because it's kind of been a little bit of the opposite, where it's like, again, I mentioned the things that seem to be resonating there are just me sharing about something or, providing, an educational type thing. But, again, I think that for where I want the business to go and, having other people styling and just really being able to grow to where it needs to be, I felt like it needed to have a name, it needed to have a look, it needed to have a personality, it needed to have all those things, so that when people saw something, they were like, oh yeah, that's Fashivly, it's happy, it's confident, it's whatever, and didn't feel like I needed to kind of always be the face of that.
I'm totally the same. Like, I have Maker and Moxie, which is my business, and then me. And I'm the same with like Instagram Reels. It's like, okay, well, I need to be on there to like what do I do? To film them, but I also like don't want it to be all about me. Do you think you will like have other people in your team eventually being in there as well, or other like your clients or anything like that, so it is less you, or are you just like, yeah, I'm gonna be this person for now?
I think for TikTok, I will probably keep it me for now, just because I feel like that, again, that platform is more so about just connecting with people and personalities. The Instagram, again, we're doing another big shoot on Saturday, so we'll finally have some new content. COVID, at least for everybody on our crew and team, has happened already, and we're finally, able to move forward a little bit with that. But still trying to keep the Instagram just really aspirational and beautiful imagery and things like that. So I think I'll just kind of continue to figure it out as I go, I guess. That's not a great strategy. But that's kind of where I'm at right now with it.
Yeah, but I think that is a good strategy in terms of like, all the platforms that we use change so much. There's always new ones coming up. There's new features that happen that we all have to get used to. And so I think it kind of is a good strategy to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to try some stuff and figure it out as I go along and see what works. And then when I find something that works, we'll do that. Like, it's kind of what we have to do right now, I think. Yeah. And so, okay, to wrap things up a little bit, I have a couple of questions that I always ask everybody. They're like generally kind of like most difficult questions. So I apologize in advance. But question number one is like, what do you think is the biggest lesson that you have learned about branding your passion?
Oh man. I
Yeah.
think probably that is really tough. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is, just going through a couple of those time periods of questioning what my passion was. And I've always identified as this girl who loves fashion and loves clothes and believes in getting dressed as a way to express ourselves and confidence and all those things. I think just remembering what that is, even when you go through those periods where you're not really sure what the medium is that you're supposed to be doing with it at that moment, I don't think I'll ever forget that lesson again, that like this is at my core who I am. And I'm so many other things. I can write, I can, do all these other things too. But I think we all have, whether people agree or not, I think we all have one given thing that is just our number, it's our passion, it's what we're great at. And I think we have to hold on to that as much as we can. And that usually is where you will end up or figure out, this is what I need to do.
Yeah, totally. It's what some people call your zone of genius or your
Yes,
purpose,
yes.
or
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, once you find it, like, yeah, I just semi recently feel like I moved out of like what I thought was my zone of like excellence into now doing this, which I feel like is definitely my zone of genius. And when you find it, you're like, oh my God, I can't go back.
Yes, like I remember it. I will not forget this ever.
Yeah, you're like, this is what I meant to do. I get it now. Yeah, awesome. That's such a great lesson. And I love that. So thank you for sharing that. And my last question is just, what advice do you think you would give to other creatives who are maybe starting to brand their passion or start a creative business? Yeah, what advice would you give them?
This is probably the opposite of what most other people say. And I think this is also probably a little personality based, but I think you just have to go for it 120%. And obviously there's things that, you have to be able to provide for yourself and eat and have a roof over your head. But I think sometimes just going one foot in, one foot out, you just got to go for it and figure out how to make that happen. If that's a 2-year plan to where you jump off the ledge. But I think, I even spent a lot of time just like creeping up to that edge and then had my toes over it. And I'm like, okay, I'm at this point and I can either take a step back and start retreating, or I can jump off and figure it out and see what happens. And I think if you have found and you know what that zone of excellence is, that zone of genius, you got to go for it all in.
Yeah, 100%. I love that so much. And you and I are on the same wavelength because I'm like a jump kind of person.
Yeah.
So I love that so much. And I think, great advice for anybody listening who's thinking about, who's maybe in that sort of crossroads of like, oh, do I do this? Do I not do this? Ashlyn is saying, do it.
Go for it. You will figure it out. The worst that happens, you fall on your butt and you get back up and you try something else. That's the worst.
Yeah. And you find hopefully some people around you who can help you to get back up and
Absolutely.
figure it out and make it work. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this whole conversation. I have had a blast like learning about you and what you do. And I think you've shared some incredible insight into running a creative business, being a creative, balancing all of your passions and all of the things that you do. Thank you so much. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you and anything that you have going on right now that you want to promote or get people to check out? Tell the people all the things.
Yes, you can follow us on TikTok. Fashivly is Fashivly. We're on Instagram. Check out our website at fashivly.com to book style guides. We're coming up on spring here in the US, so it's a great time to kickstart that. All the social media platforms, website, check us out.
Awesome. We will make sure that all of those links are down below. And I am 100% either or going to book one of yours for myself or also as a gift. I was like, this would make a great gift for like my sister, or hopefully she doesn't listen, or like a friend, you know, like it was such a good gift. So definitely go and check out the different packages and see if one of them will work for you. So yeah, thank you so much again, and we will see everybody in the next episode.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Brand Your Passion and choosing to spend time with me learning all about branding, business, and all things creativity. You can find more episodes just like this one at makerandmoxie.com/podcast. If you like this one, you can tap that subscribe or follow button so that you're notified about each and every new episode. And if you've got a spare second, please leave a review on iTunes or wherever it is that you're listening to this podcast, because I would absolutely 100% love to hear from you. If there were some helpful goodies in this episode for you, it would mean the world to me as well if you could screenshot that podcast player right now, hop on over to Instagram or Twitter and tag us at Maker and Moxie. By subscribing, reviewing, and sharing, you're helping reach more creators just like you, so that together we can make the world a more creative place, one brand at a time. We can't achieve this mission without you, so your support means the absolute world. I will talk to you in the next episode, but until then, keep creating.